Hello, darlings. Welcome to the live stream. I'm going to give a few seconds for you guys to get on the broadcast before I begin. And if you're watching the replay, then every new moon and full moon, I do this live broadcast. It's an energy report for the energies that we are living in. And if you are a member of our Patreon family, the Patreon link is below, then you get to watch this live, you get to ask questions, you get to interact. So that's one of the perks of being in the Patreon family at specific tiers. So if you are in the highest tier, you get both new moon and full moon events. If you're in the second highest tier, you get new moon events. And then always in any tier, you get all of the updates that I share all the time. So I'm gonna again wait for them to hop on and just do a couple of announcements while I wait for that. For those of you who are new to my broadcast, have never watched any of my shows, welcome to my channel. My name is Shakti and this is Shakti TV. And as you can see from the banner, I talk about health and sovereignty. So my business is around helping women become empowered in their bodies, in their mind, in their spirits. And I use fitness and nutrition and mindset as the access point for that. So I do have an upcoming lifestyle bootcamp that starts August 10th. And so if you're watching this and you're like, I need something to revamp my life, and we're going to talk about why that's coming up in the cards. But this is really, the revamp energy is really high right now. Looking for a brand new beginning, looking for something to do to shake off the old and get into the new. And I feel like a lifestyle bootcamp is the beautiful thing to start with that. So if you're looking for something like that, you can just check out the comments below in the details. I will put a link to request to join the bootcamp. And you can also email me, shakti@shaktireels.com, and ask me any questions that you'd like about that. And I'm happy to chat. So just a little bit of update because it's relevant to the energy formation that we're going to talk about right now. All right. So again, this is an energy report. I'm not an astrologer. This is my office. I moved it. So if you're online right now, my patrons are seeing my new setup for the first time. This isn't even the final setup. Back here, it's going to look different, and I'm getting a beautiful office plant for that corner, so I'm really excited about that. But I've rearranged my whole office because now I have my gym, and I can move my gym out of my office where it was and actually use my office as an office. And I'm creating a, right here where this is actually, there's going to be a little workstation for my son so he can hang out with me and work while I work. So lots of changes, but you guys are getting the very first view of the new perspective in my office. Yeah, super exciting. So this is an energy report. I'm not an astrologer, but I'm an intuitive and I'm a channeler. And I work with messages that I channel from the Galactic Council. So I work a lot with star beings. And I have since about 2017. And I've been an intuitive and a metaphysician for over a decade. So my work is really just tapping into the collective energy and feeling what's happening and then delivering a message that I feel is helpful for both during the new moon and full moon season, as the energies are really heightened during those times. So first, let's dive into, right now we are mid-year. And I want to remind everyone, the beginning of 2020 knocked everyone on their ass. The beginning of 2020 was one of the most unexpected things that everybody was like, holy moly, what is going on? Okay. By now, we've gotten the hang of the energy of 2020. We know 2020 is not messing around. We know 2020 is just like a headspin after a headspin after a headspin. We know that there's a lot of conspiracy. We know that there's a lot of cover up. We know that there's a lot of plotting and planning and things that aren't lining up, and we can see how that's playing out. So my invitation to you is going to be as followed. Really ask yourself the question, how are you going to end the second half of this year? If the first half of this year knocked you on your ass and totally took you for a ride, and you feel like none of the things you set out to do and none of the aspirations you wanted to do and you said at the beginning of the year are coming to pass, how can you rein yourself in now, knowing what you know, so that you finish your year in a different frequency? And we're going to dive into the cards, but bear with me. This is really, really important. Every single message that I am channeling when I sit down to make that time to receive from the Galactic Council or in my dreams continues to loop the message of emotion and creation, emotion and creation, emotion and creation. Like I'm literally not receiving anything except that. That we need to be so mindful of what we are letting live in our mind and how long we're letting thought streams hold on to our thoughts. Like how long are you really entertaining a thought for any given amount of time, especially if it's a negative thought, a destructive thought, a complaining thought, a worrying thought, etc. Because always and forever, the energy that we have emitted has been crucial to the creation and magnetizing process. But especially right now, and I'm going to dive more into this on my Friday series. So every Friday I do a Fireside Friday chat. I'll put the link up here. I'm like, which side? I'll put the link up here to my latest one. And that series is all about conspiracies and alternate narratives and alternate news, right? Things that are happening that we're not finding out about, okay? In that series this coming Friday, I'm going to explain why harnessing your energy and keeping it in the vibration that you want it to be in is so important. Because not only is it going to serve you, but it's actually serving the collective. So I'm going to go real deep into why that is the case there. And it's going to be a little bit disturbing, but also really important. So catch that series. It's on Fridays, usually at 8:30 p.m. EST. You can actually set a reminder once it goes live to like when it's scheduled, and it'll remind you when I'm about to go live. Okay, so very first card in the reading that we got was awareness. Okay, and I'm especially drawing attention to this card is right up here where this sphere is, and this portal right above his head. Okay, so this is the place from which we receive. It's also the thing that connects us to the higher realms. Now, right now, all of us are receiving an acceleration in the messages that we're receiving via dream state, or in our waking state. This is extremely heightened. For a lot of us, it might be physical sensations, a lot of headaches, vision issues, things of that nature. We have to be very mindful of how open we are becoming, and the fact that in the lower dimensional frequencies that are above us, but not 5D, 6D, etc., there are beings, entities that are less than desirable, that are looking to use this connection that we are all opening up and expanding for less than auspicious uses. Again, we'll talk more about that on Friday. Extremely important that we are taking the time to clear this channel I've been meditating consistently every single morning for at least 15 minutes, which is also why I'm incorporating meditation in my next lifestyle bootcamp. Because even though I did meditate, it wasn't every day and it wasn't super consistent, like right when I wake up in the morning. But what I'm realizing is that I need to clear my connection and center my energy every single morning as quickly as possible before I dive into my day and before I start answering messages, answering my clients, checking with my organization, or doing anything online. Because there is so much information that is being created and pumped. There's disinformation, there's also real information that's hard to read. There's also psychic attacks and energy warfare, spiritual warfare occurring. So if I'm not taking the time for those 15 minutes to really ground myself in my connection and clear it out of any funkiness, I'm going to go into my day and fall right into some sort of energy trap that's waiting for me around the corner, and then it's going to ruin the rest of my day. It's going to be like, oh, well, then this happened and then that happened, because isn't that always the case? How is it that when one setback happens, all of a sudden 10 happen? That's not just because you have bad luck. That's because you are in that vibration, and it continues on until you change the vibration. That's why a lot of times we have to go to sleep and wake up the next day, because that's a vibrational reset. That's one way that we reset. But meditation is another way that you reset. And you can actually prime your day to not be in that place by doing a simple 5-minute, you don't even need to be that long, a 5-minute meditation in the morning will set you up so you're not in that situation. Okay, then we got the Harmony card and the Universe card. Okay, more extremely auspicious cards. There's a lot of cosmic energy in these two. Another very auspicious card. So the Harmony card is about partnership. Okay, it's about cooperation, working together. It's a major arcana card. In fact, all of these are major arcana cards. Oh my gosh. Awareness was one. Then we have harmony, universe, and new beginnings, and they're all major arcana. So they're all major themes that are playing out right now. Harmony is about cooperation and partnership. Okay, so collectively, this is about moving into a new reality where this is more of what we see and how we interact with one another on a collective global scale. For me, the harmony card was really a harmony with self. Like really about coming into harmony with self and being informed from within. And I've talked about this in some of my social media posts, but a lot of us are informing our experience of reality from our external experience. We are allowing that external things that we are consuming to dictate our internal environment and then how our experiences go. And it has to be the other way around. We have to come to a place of internal harmony and then go into the world and interact in the world from that position. When you do that, you change the way your interactions go, and you also change the kind of information that finds its way to you and the kind of interactions that you have. Kemi, I learned early on that I can only consume so much information or I was going to shut down. I was able to really keep this in perspective on all areas of my life. Absolutely. Absolutely. You are the guardian to that gate of information coming in and out of your life. And it's so, so important that you are very vigilant of that gate and that you don't let it just slip, you know? And I'm going to speak to this on a social media perspective. Like, don't tolerate people on your timeline, on your feeds that give you distress. If you need to block people for your peace of mind, not even because they might have said something or done something, but just because you need peace and this person is disrupting that, do it. Don't let them be a disruption in your field. Guard your field. Be a guardian of your field. We are evolving right now and opening up so quickly. Be a guardian of that. So important. Then the universe card. So this card is usually all about creation and creativity. For me, the universe card is always about, actually it's paired very well with new beginnings, which is the next card, new beginnings. It is about new beginnings. It's about giving birth to something new, expressing yourself through creation. We do that like physically through creation of life, but we also do that through art. We also do that through business endeavors. We also do that through projects, through new adventures that we take on, or new challenges that we give ourselves. I really feel like all new moons are great times to start things, but this one in particular has a very potent energy of like seeding something that you want to come to pass with this like sense of enthusiasm and optimism that's very strong. And the message that you are supported in this by the universe is very highly present. And then of course you have rejoice and celebration, which means that this is where we as a collective are headed, even though it's difficult to see that now. But also, if you can firmly plant yourself in the things that you want to come to pass and be very mindful of the frequency that you hold in your thoughts, you will be able to create at this point more than ever such a powerful experience of your future. So I have personally felt this shift in my own business and in the own way that I show up in my life, where like a switch went off for me in the past couple of weeks, and all of a sudden there was this new sense of empowerment and this new sense of ability and purpose and vision that I didn't have before. And one of the astrologers that I typically follow, she's talking about Aries and Mars and the current relationship astrologically right now. And even though, you know, that's a kind of aggressive, contentious energy, it's also very assertive. It's very forward moving. It's very provoking, you know, and I feel that provocation. I feel that call to action in my spirit. So if you're feeling like, oh, I'm so excited to start this new project, or you have something on your mind that you're wanting to start, or you've been thinking about, or whatever, that is the frequency that we are all riding right now. As well as, of course, the obvious greater implications of like new earth new reality, new plane of existence, all those things that we've been talking about with Ascension. Yes, clarity. That's a great word. Having clarity. It's like having pinpoint clarity. So good. Okay, so then I pulled from a different deck as well. I have one that's the Osho Zen Tarot deck. And these 4 cards were so poetic, the way they came out. And I was like, let's talk about them. All right, so we got stress and the Lover's card. Okay, so here's stress and the Lover's card. So if you notice stress, you see how there's this figure and balancing all these things in his hands, and he's like on one foot on a ball, and then there's this monkey holding a needle like about to pop his ball, right? So this is what is happening inside of our mind state right now when we are not grounding, when we are not paying attention to our energy field, when we are not guarding our thoughts against the lower frequency stressors or concepts. And what this does is keep you very, very distracted, because if you stay here and you don't anchor your energy, then you're going to miss a very potent window of energy to be able to create, again, the Universe card, to create what you want for yourself, because you'll be too busy with all these balls in the air, and you won't be able to be like, wait a second, do I even want to carry these balls? Do I even want to do this anymore? Do I even want, like, what am I doing with my life, right? Like, you will not be able to look at your life as in with the clarity of knowing what comes next. And the Lover's card, of course, it reminds me so much of this card, the Harmony card. So it's almost like getting 2 Lover's cards in one reading. Again, coming into self. And I like that in this card, it's actually a reflection. They're like reflecting each other. They're almost identical looking, right? Looking into the mirror of who you are and bringing into harmony your, okay, so heart math, just thinking about heart math, and when you're in the space of radiating feelings like gratitude, love, hope, light, joy, you resonate differently. Energetically, you start giving off a different frequency. And those thoughts are also like they have a certain, I keep using the word frequency as like an intangible concept, but I'm also seeing frequency as like literally when you map a frequency and you can see the spikes and the ebbs, the crests and the ebbs of the mapping of them. You bring your heart and your mind into a cohesive place when you are within a place of harmony within yourself. So your heart and your mind are connected and they're operating together. And now you don't have that sense of like separation that so many of us operate under, where it's like your heart is feeling something and desiring something and your mind is preoccupied with this or the other thing and completely ignoring the calling of the heart, completely ignoring the heart chakra's need to express and to be seen. So when you are taking care of what you're bringing into your thoughts, journaling every single day, like these implanting thoughts into your mind and rewriting affirmations, when you're meditating and you're taking control of your frequency, you are also taking control of that heart-mind dynamic and approaching the world in a cohesive state that allows you to then operate from a place of cohesion and attract from a place of cohesion versus from a place of dysfunction, right? Or lack of being out of sync, okay? From a place of being out of sync. And you know how cohesion feels because it's those days when everything flows and you're just like, yes, 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 and things just are going. And then you know when you're out of sync because it's like, oh, I missed this and I was late here and that happened. And it's like when you're out of step with reality, that's how you can tell like, okay, I need to get back to. And one place I've been learning that really affects my ability to have cohesion and to be in sync in my life is actually food. I'm really noticing that certain foods take me out of that flow and other foods keep me in. that flow. And that's been really eye-opening for me as well, because I value my mental clarity and sharpness so much. And so noticing that, I'm like, all right, there's something here. The next two were mind. Imagine that, and courage. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see mind and courage. Okay, so the mental exhaustion of consuming too much information, thinking too many thoughts, always being on a hamster wheel in your brain. And we've all heard that, little story of a flower growing through the cracks of concrete, despite the fact that it's hard as hell, and despite the fact that there's very little chance that she will thrive. There she is, growing in through the cracks of concrete. Okay? And so I want to wrap those two cards up with, yes, the Ultimate Reset totally has given this truth. So Kobe, who's watching, she participated in my last boot camp, which was actually like a Daniel's fast. And we have a program called the Ultimate Reset, which is a detoxing program. It's a 3-week detoxing program, and it is insanely powerful. It's ridiculously potent, eye-opening. I mean, not only have we lost weight and our skin is glowing and our gut is happy, but just the spiritual revelations, the mental revelations that we've had since being on this has been like mind-blowing for every member of the group. So yeah, absolutely, this was the perfect time to do this, which is why I feel I was called upon to do that with you guys. It was so eye-opening, so eye-opening. So I want to say this about the cards of mind and courage. Have the courage to stand up to your own mind. Have the courage to not just accept your thoughts as, that's just what I'm thinking. That's just what's happening in my brain. That's just how I think. That's just, have the courage to stand up to your own mind and say, I do not want to think this way anymore. These thoughts that I'm now turning in my mind are not helpful. These thoughts are not bringing me closer to where I want to be, to my goals, to my joy, to my internal peace. And that's a very significant question for you to ask yourself every time you catch yourself in a loop with thoughts. Are these thoughts bringing me closer to where I want to be, or are they taking me farther away? Because all of your thoughts are either creating something you want or creating something you don't want. That's just how thoughts work. So when you catch yourself in a mental loop, ask yourself that, and then interrupt the pattern by either leaving the room that you're in, going into another room, changing your state physically, drinking water, doing something that kind of interrupts the pattern so you stop the loops. But have the courage to stand up to your own mind and to not let your thoughts run without being monitored, especially right now. Also have the courage to know where you stand right now with yourself. Like, what are your priorities? This is not a time for you to be like, oh, I don't know where my goals are, I don't know what my priorities are. On the contrary, now is a time where you have to have clear what your priorities are, because if not, the very next thing that happens is going to knock you right back on your ass, and you're going to end 2020 in the same place or worse than you were 2019. Okay? So this is a time to get rock solid about what your priorities are, and to know every day when you get to work, when you work your business, when you are with your family, when you whatever, what am I ending this year with? How am I ending this year? And do not move from that trajectory. Do not remove yourself from that path. Okay? So I feel like the end of this year is going to require an enormous amount of personal will and courage and stamina that we may not have called upon ourselves to have before. And I also feel that the end of this year, for those that take that challenge, will be one of the most rewarding, fulfilling, magical ends of years that they've ever had. For those that do not take the challenge, it will be conversely very difficult. Because at the end of this year, ending up in the same place you were previous year or previous years, it will feel like an even greater failure to you, like an even greater setback, because intuitively you know how much energy there is right now in the field to work with, right? And if you don't use that to propel yourself forward, you will feel the absence of it more so at the end of this year. Now, we still have a few more years to come when it comes to redoing the planet and consciousness and the collective. Like, it's not just 2020 is not gonna pass and then we'll be like, oh, right back to where we were. That's not gonna happen. But we are moving in the direction of dismantling the old and building the new. And right now, it's some of the strongest energy to push us forward and do what we need to do on a personal level to get on that trajectory. Okay? So, this is the half of the year reading. We are smack in the middle of the year. I have 2 New Years. Really, I do have 2 New Years every single year. It's not really January 1st for me, but my birthday's at the end of the year, so maybe that's why. So my birthday's in December, and in December, to me, every birthday is a personal new year. So I reflect on my whole previous year and I set the tone for the following year on my birthday every single year. But mid-year, so about now in July, I reflect on how did the first half of this year go and how am I going to end this current year. And I invite each of you to take that very seriously and to ask yourself that question and get pinpoint clear about what you want, how you want to end this year. So that when you move into 2021, 2022, what gets to happen is you get to experience harvest from the seeds that you've planted. Yes, be mindful of where you're pulling your energy from, 100%. And again, I'm going to talk about this on Friday on that show. There are entities that are harvesting energy right now at a very high rate for not good reasons. So make the time to connect within, to clear your portal, to make sure you know where you're connecting and who you are and why you're here and why you're showing up in the world and doing what you're doing, okay? Make the time. So important. Any questions from anybody who is live? If you are live, please feel free to ask a question. Oh wait, because there's a little bit of a setback, so I want to make sure that I hear or read what you guys are going to ask. Right, I don't think there's any. So, that's good. Right, well, I hope that this was an illuminating reading and assessment of the energy of right now, of this new moon in Cancer. And I hope that we all take the time to not only, like, I just made vision boards mid-year. This is something most people do at the beginning of the year. I just did them mid-year. I have one for my family and one for myself professionally. And it's because I needed something right in front of my face on this wall, right behind where you guys are, to look at every single day and direct my attention to, like, why am I showing up? Why does this matter? What am I goaling for? And to not let those leave my eyesight the entire time that I'm in this room. So whatever you guys need to do, whether it's a vision board or reminder on your phone, to keep your energy front and center on the things that are important to you front and center, do that now more than ever. And if you are a member of the Patreon community, which if you're watching live you are, then you guys are getting a lot of the videos ahead of time that I will be sharing snippets of on Friday. But watch the ones that I'm putting in there because they're extremely insightful and will give you a really good breakdown of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about energy harvesting, etc. And for the rest of you guys, if you're watching the replay, then I will see you on Friday, and we'll talk about all that stuff. All right, darlings, have an amazing new moon. I love you so much, and as always, please take care of yourselves and take care of each other now more than ever. Be well.